Hello and welcome to the Wednesday night morning day modeling stream. I'm Brian Bentley, your streamer. Welcome, 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 welcome. I am the department head of modeling here at CG Spectrum. For all your modeling needs, go to cgspectrum.com/3D-modeling. It's been a long day. It's been a long day for me. But this is like my favorite part of the week. Really is. It's a time where I get to shut my door and shut off the world and just work on graphic stuff. For some of you that are in the industry, that know, people that are busy know, like, it's very rare that you get time to just kind of sit down for hours on end, or at least in this case 2 hours, and just really get to practice your craft. It's really enjoyable. So for those of you that come and watch, those of you that have been watching, thank you so much. Those of you who are new, hopefully you stick around, you learn some stuff, because I really like doing this. So this is where we left off last time. I was making this kind of like brick generator for an arbitrary object. So I've been using it on this pig head because it's got some nice details. But I want to genericize it today and make it so that you can use it pretty much on anything. So I'm going to have to move around some of my masking, and I may have to change around some of. I may actually just have to to change this whole kind of idea. But that's how you get better, and this is how you build systems. You kind of build them up little by little bit, like little bit. You make them very specific when you start, and then you start to make them more and more generic as you move along. So, just as a review, what I got into, and today I want to get into how you can take this data, right? How you can spit out all this data, and you can either use it in Houdini or possibly in another software. You could use it in Substance Designer or Substance Painter. It's all just images and black and white and ones and zeros at the end of the day. So once you realize that everything is just data, right? You can use that data however you like, and you're not beholden to any one piece of software. Or maybe if you're a computer graphics or a computer sciencey type person who wants to get into computer graphics, maybe you can figure out how to take that data and use it in your own software, in your own tools that you're writing and developing. This isn't just for animators and modelers. This is for everybody. So let's get to it, shall we? So let's talk about what we did last time, and then we'll build from there. So last time I started with this pig head, and then I subdivided it, and then I closed the mouth here because I didn't want that gap in there, and then I ran it through this thing called voxel mesh. So that basically just takes it and makes it all nice and solid. So if I go back to here, I have this big inside, and then when I go to my voxel mesh, that cleans all that stuff out. So what the voxel mesh is doing is inside, we could actually, and this is what I love about Houdini, like anytime you see this little lock here, you can jump inside of a node. And a lot of like these really high level nodes that are starting to come out for Houdini, they're really just convenience for the user. It's just like their Houdini team putting together kind of like these pretty complicated nodes, but it's all just like at its core, it's all just Houdini and Vex. Houdini really is just a giant wrapper for the Vex programming language. So if I jump inside here, I can see what this is doing. So let's see, it's making a group, it's checking for a bunch of stuff, and I think at its core, so it's making this VDB from Polygon, so it's making a volume, and then I would venture to guess that it is converting it back. So let's see, yeah, convert VDB here. So it's then projecting that back on. So yeah. So I think I was getting some of, so here, if I turn off my wireframe, if I just do smooth shaded, I'm getting some of I can see some of my faces. So I think I just saw, so there's this project to original, and I have that turned off. Okay, cool. And then, so I can do project to original, and then it's got this post smooth iteration, so I can actually smooth this out so I don't get those polylines. So let's do like So just gets rid of those polylines for me. And I actually forgot about this. I didn't know about this really until I dove into that. It's because I saw that ray project in there. So that's really all it's doing. Maybe we can do sharpen features to get a little bit more rocky look out of this. And this is all processing, so this doesn't really do much. Because most of this is going to get ripped away by all the noise maker stuff that I'm doing. So I'll go ahead and turn that off. Don't really need that extra calculation, but I do like that smoothing. And then, so I need a lot of polygons here. So there is one way I could up my resolution, but here I'm just throwing in a smooth. So this guy is about 1 million. Oh no, it's about 500,000 polygons here. And then I'm going to smooth it. I think I smoothed it once. And this should bump me up to around, you know, a couple million. Yeah, so 1,755,000. Cool. So that's about how many polygons I've figured out that I need. Around 1 million, 2 million. Hey, PHO, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. So I need about 2 million polygons to get the look that I want. So I'm just going to remember that. Actually, maybe I can just do a sticky note. Need 2 mil polys. There we go. So need 2 million polys. So it's just like a little sticky note to remind me that whatever comes into here needs needs at least 2 million polys to hold the amount of detail I'm going to be throwing at the side, because I'm throwing out a lot of detail out of this. So those little undulations, those up and downs, those high frequency noises, they all need that much geometry to hold everything in. So maybe, let's see. No, I'm not going to go over that far, because if I smooth it one more time, if I do that's going to do another power of 8. So I don't want to do that. All right, so that's my in-mesh. And I do this in-mesh because I just want to be able to just plug a new thing in at the top of here, which we're going to do later. So I did a pre-inflate, so I just puffed this guy out just a little bit. And then I'm doing my mask painting here, so I'll paint my mask. So let's view that. Let's view my mask. So this is where I want my stone to be. I think this is where I have my stone. I can't really remember. And then I blur it a bit, which at this many polygons doesn't really do much. Does a little bit, but not too much. And then I do this roughen edge, so it beats up this edge, so I get like this nice roughen edge here. And inside, so basically inside that roughen edge, I have this kind of string here. So I'm taking my position, I'm running it through a turbulent noise, I'm fitting that. Let's do this. Let's round out these numbers. So let's say 0.1 and let's say 0.4. Just kind of round out those numbers. So that's fit. And then I bring in my mask, and then I add to that mask. I multiply by that mask. So basically, this is a classic roughen edges system. You can do this in Photoshop. You can do it in Nuke. You can do it in Fusion. It's pretty much just taking this, and then I spit out the mask again. So I don't really need this, but I usually just leave it in there. So this is pretty straightforward. Okay. Okay. So that gives me. So this is my clean pig, and I could do some roughening of this if I wanted to. I could put maybe like some stone texture on here or something, so that's not completely smooth like this. But you know, sky's the limit. We could do that later in texturing as well. Okay, so now over here, so this is my brick setup here. So this is my clean setup. This is my brick setup. So over here, I deflate my pig a little bit because I want the bricks to be pushed into the surface. Once again, I blur things, right? Because I'm gonna beat most of this up with a lot of brick patterns, so I don't really need a lot of detail in here. And I can even let's do this even more. Too much. 1.5. I can only get to the step size of 1. It's because I have 100 blurring iterations. So if I do 50, and I do 2, that should give me about the same. Oh, yeah. Looks like my step size can only be 1. So I'm just maxing out all this stuff. So let's do really blur out all that data, because this is just gonna get all beat up. So I call this my this is where all the magic happens, is Brickstone. So all this, that's where all this data is stored. And then after all this, just to kind of take the edge off, yeah, I did, I go and I blur it again just a little bit. So a little bit less than what I did before. So only 1 blurring iteration. Even if I go up to like 50, this really isn't gonna do much. So that's way, way too much. I'm losing all my detail. So I want to take just a little bit. So maybe a little bit more. Doesn't really matter. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. So just kind of softening up those edges so they're not so utterly just crispy. And I'm gonna get that. So in here, in the ears and in thin spots, you're gonna get like this this folding over. There's just really, no way you can get around that. I mean, maybe we could maybe do like a curvature. Like these are really tightly curved, and you could like multiply that by your mask or something, or by your displacement amount. But that's to be seen. Okay, so I get this post point. So now down here. Now this is where I'm blending these two guys together. So we can see where my mask is, that's where I'm getting my brick, and where my mask is not, that is where I'm getting my stucco. And that is done in here, so it's just lerp. So lerp is linear interpolate, so basically it means if I have a value going this way, and a value going this way, at 0, all those values are here, and at 1, all those values are here, and at 0.5, you get something like that. Cool. So that's the setup, the basic setup that we did last time. If you're interested in that, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can watch all of my past live streams and enjoy. Yes. Okay. So what we want to do today is we want to start making this into like kind of more flexible setup. And I say that because, right, I've built all this kind of bespoke to this pig, and I've built it to a certain size. But what I want is I want to be able to feed in anything into this mesh, and then kind of change some settings so that the brick pattern fits. So for this, I'm just going to use a sphere to test this. Okay, so remember, I want around 2 million polygons. So by default, this guy is a primitive, so I need to make him into a polygon. So this has about, look at my data here. It's got about 80 polygons. So let's do maybe 500. Let's see what this is. So that's about 5 million. That's way too much. So let's do half of that, 50. That's pretty good. Let's try 300. Yeah, that's about 200. So if I plug this guy in here, I should get about the same look overall when I come down here. Yeah, so I'm getting about the same look. So that's good. So I know that it works. I know the system works in on things that are about the same size. My attribute paint is even kind of like trying its best to respond to the new shapes. Okay, so that's the other thing I want to do is I don't want to have to rely on this attribute paint. So I'm gonna try to make this masking purely procedural as well. Like, so I want you to be able to augment it with paint, but it won't, like, the paint won't be completely 100% necessary. I want the paint to be like an extra thing that you can add on if you feel so inclined. Okay, so that's fine. So, but what happens if my my object is really, really big? So let's put this up to like 50. So I'm still getting my paint, but I'm losing my brick pattern because that brick pattern is still that same size. It's still getting the same size. So at this point, I have like literally like millions of little bricks in here, and there's just not enough. And you can even see in here as well, like my noise pattern that's on the edge of my mask is getting really noisy because I'm sampling just a bigger section of everything. So so yeah, that's another thing that we'll have to deal with. So that's really big. So when we get really big, our system gets too small. And then if we go the opposite direction, so if I do 0.1, if I go the opposite direction, my system is too large, right? I have like these giant brick patterns. So there's two ways to deal with this in a system in general. So one, you let the user control the size of your brick pattern, and two, you let the overall system control the size of your brick pattern. So I'm going to set up both. So for this, and actually, you know what? This is what I'm going to do as well. I'm going to move. See, my masking, just as you know, subconsciously, I put these things together here. My masking is actually a different kind of system than my bricking thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my bricker all on its own here. And then I'm going to take my masking and move it above my image. So I'm going to take this guy and move it here. And I'm going to make a new in mesh here. And we'll say you and you. And then we'll take this mesh and plug it in there. So that should give me, yeah, that's the exact same system. So here, so I can do I can basically have two tools here. So I have one that takes in a mask and roughens the edges. And then I'll have another one down here that will allow me to use either a custom mask or a noise-based mask. And then so this all will be my bricking setup, and this will be my mask. Okay. So in my bricking setup, there's one thing I could do. So to let the system build your to control the size of things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring, no matter how big or small something is, I'm going to bring it down to a uniform size, and then I will explode that thing back out to a uniform size. So, do I want to do it that way? I can try to do it that way. We'll see. We'll see. So, to do this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a match or axis align node. Axis align. So what this is going to do is if I take this mesh here, so it's really small, like it's 0.01. Actually, it's not too that small. It's like about a centimeter. So I'm going to take this guy and I'll plug this in here. So what this thing does is it takes, you know, whatever system that brings into it, and it makes it this new preferred size. Okay. So if I plug this pig in here, so we can see that this guy is pretty much the same as let's see, this guy here. Actually, no, not. So scale to fit. There we go. So I want scale to fit. So I want this thing to be 1, 1, and 1. So now, if I plug in my pig, so I know that this thing is 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. Okay. So now if I plug in my pig, it should do roughly the same thing. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm letting the system be like, okay, you're giving me this thing that's this size. I'm going to take it and morph it to be this one size. Now I got to put that thing back. So inside this match size, I believe there is a stash X-form. And I can make another one of these down here. and I can say restore X form. Okay, so whatever I can do, whatever I want in the middle of here, and if I template this guy here, right, these two things match. So what I'm going to do is I bring in my model, I pull it down to 111, I do whatever I want to it, and then I put it back to where it was before. This is really, really powerful. This is actually a compositing trick. If you've ever seen like compositing, stabilization methods, so basically you have something moving around, right? You pin that thing in space, right? So everything else around it is moving, but like if I wanted to put something on my palm, right? Like a Iron Man repulsor or like some sort of infection growing over my palm, it's way easier to work on things that are still and stuck in space than they are moving around. So I would track like bits on my hand, I would stabilize that hand, right? So everything around my hand is going crazy. I do all my animation on that stuff, right? And then I unpin that thing and I make it move around with my hand. It's really, really powerful compositing technique. And this is what I love about Houdini, is because it's using kind of like these same ideas. I can kind of intuit those ideas into this system, right? So what I'll do is I will take and I will grab that, and this will go into here. So this is going to be my match size, and then this guy at the very end is going to be put back. So all that's got to calculate here in a second. All right. So I need to feed in, this is my maps here, and this guy needs to be fed in there. Great, so now I'm getting, so I'll have to adjust my brick pattern is still a little bit too big. But the great thing is, no matter what I put in here, that brick pattern will be about the same size. Look, this brick pattern is about the same size. So if I do the same thing, so I take this guy, this gets blown up to the size, all this bricking stuff happens, and then match size, it gets squeezed back down. So it's roughly the same size. So that works really, really well. Really well. Okay, wonderful. So that's one thing taken care of. So match, unify, not ubify, unify size. And then down here, restore size. Great. So that's one thing. Like that's the kind of the system taking care of things. So the next thing I want is, I think I just want to I just want a generic noise mask in here. And I'm going to split this off. I'm going to have a use generic mask and then use custom mask over here. So I'm just going to kind of put this off to the side. And I'm going to plug that into there. And I'm going to go ahead and make this guy back to like about the same size as before. Cool. All right, so let's build this this procedural noise here. So I'm just gonna use, let's see, noise. Let's do attribute noise, and this is just gonna be a float, and I'm gonna call it mask. Because down here, this guy is already looking for mask. So I'll say that. And so this thing is really, really soft by default. So let's see. I'm going to do operation is just going to be set. So I'm going to bring my amplitude up. And actually, I'm just going to view just this guy. And my noise type, I think simplex, I can keep that to simplex. And I can bring my element size down. And then my post process here and here is that it's the same thing as that fit that I did before. So as I bring this up, I should see more contrast happening. This is just setting my minimum, my output min, and my output max. I don't want that. I want, let's see, enable ramp remap. That's what I want. So as I bring these together, I'm going to get a more, a tighter, or a more contrasty mask. Yeah. So my element size here, where's my, so when I do remap, it seems like I lose my element size, which is not good. Oh, here we go. It's down here, element size. So I can change my element size to be quite large. So I want like big chunks in here. Okay. And then, yeah, so that's my custom mask. And now if I come down after here, so now I'll have my custom mask that I can use. So let's see, what else can I do this? I can do simplex, offset, let's see, fractal. I think I can make this thing rougher, the more octaves. So I'm probably going to want to give my user, my end user, all this control. So I have pretty much the same setup as I had before. All right. So if I take my pig, so I'm just going to keep swapping back and forth just to make sure this works on both ones. Basically the same thing. This is pretty crazy. So I'll have to modify some of these things. So my pig is going way too deep. And I think it's because my this guy is too small. Yeah, this is way too small. So let's bring this down. So let's say negative 0.01. Yeah, and then I think my bloat is also too big. No, that's okay. So 0.01, negative 0.01. Let's go back to here. And I think my my displacement overall is also a little bit too much. So let's pop in here and let's bring down our, let's do an overall scale for our displacement a little bit high. Let's turn off that visualization. The red is really high. Okay, so I want to leave that at 1. I always want to leave my displacement at, my overall displacement at 1. So I need to bring down all of my displacements overall. So we have a couple different displacements and they're all built through this add. So this add here. So we have this multiply. This guy is maybe 0.005. I'm just going to go through and half all of these. So this constant here, 0.0015. Yeah, so that's starting to bring that into, let's just put this at 0, see what that gives me. Okay, that's my craggy bits, so 0.01. So let's do negative 0.005. That by half. Cool. All right, so we're about back to where I was before. My ears are still really getting pulled in way too much. So if I do this. Yeah, so I might not even need that pre-inflation. I'll leave it in there just in case the user wants it. at the end. So let's turn this visualization back on. All right, so now I'm just getting like this one big chunk. So what I can do here, let's leave our amplitude at 1 as well. And let's do post-process 0 and 1. So I want to make sure this guy is always clamped between 0 and 1. So if I bring up my amplitude, yeah, there we go. Cool. So my amplitude is always at 1. So now if I take, let's take my post deflate and do negative 0.05. Yeah, so that guy pulls in and this guy pushes out. Perfect. So this is what we call refactoring overall. It's basically you're trying to get back to where you were before, but you're trying to make it more usable and more stable. So it looks like I've lost my, let's see, this is pockmarks. And this is also why it's good. This is my rock output. So let's put this to 1 and watch this thing explode. That's way too high. So do 0.05. There we go. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. But overall, my rock texture is looking all right. And then this is my brick output. So that's 0.05. So 0.05, 0.005, 0.005. Yeah, so I'm still getting a little bit of that. So let's do 0.01. So 0.1 is too much. Let's do half of that, 5. So once again, I'm just trying to determine a baseline for everything. So when the user pops this on something, they get like a pleasing result out of the gate. And then this is my pockmark, so that goes in 0.05. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go back to our mask, and let's start dealing with that. So amplitude. So our element size is going to be how many of these kind of things we get. So we can start to make that bigger or smaller. Overall. If we go too far, we just get crazy noise. That feels pretty good. So we can chain these together. So I can have a really big noise. So let's do 0.01. Or no, 0.5. So this is our mask big. Mask big. And I can do another one of these. If I view this. So this is going to be the exact same mask. So instead of set, I'm going to say, we'll do maximum, right? So what I can do now is I can say, let's half the size of this. So 0.25. So if I bypass this one. All right, so I'm getting, so it's kind of chewing away those bits. And actually what I can do is let's just do an add. Yeah, so my red parts are in my add. I can do maximum, minimum. Yeah, so it looks like I'm going to do minimum. So here, kind of working a little bit backwards, but that's okay. So now we're getting like the secondary pattern that might be a little bit smaller. All right? And then we'll do, so this will be medium. And then we'll do another one that's really, really small. So this will be 0.05. So we get these three levels. We get like these really big splotches. We have these really medium splotches, and maybe we can even go 0.01. And these teensy little kind of bits in here. Maybe we can feather those a little bit more. So now if we plug this in here, and we look at our bricks, should get something like that. So I think maybe the little bits are a little bit too much. So I can bypass this. Yeah, I just think I just like the big and the medium as well. So just to get rid of the small ones, because I do want it to be pretty chunky. So now this kind of looks like torn away stucco. So I would, let's see, I can do my offset, so I can change where my medium sits. So a lot of times with procedural stuff, you lose kind of control overall, but what you lose in control, you get back in flexibility, and that's most systems. Cool. So I think what I can do is on this big mask, I can just do, I do add. That shouldn't give me anything. Great. So what this is going to do, I'll set this back to minimum. Wait, let's add. This guy would be minimum. Right. So now what this will do is this will add to whatever noise I bring in. So if I bring my my little mask machine here, so now this is just adding to all that mask that I already painted. So let's do this. Let's take this guy, scoot this over, and I'm just going to do a switch. So now this is adding my procedural, right? So we'll add, say, use procedural mask. Okay? So this is using procedural, which is adding to whatever I have. If I go to 1, this is just this is just using my hand-painted mask. So I can choose. I can choose here, or I can choose here. I could even say what I want this operation to be. So I could say multiply by my mask, or I can say subtract from my hand-painted mask. So this is other minimum to my hand-painted mask, or maximum to my hand-painted mask. Now, if I don't have a mask, like add is going to be the only one that'll work, but this is something that the user might want to be able to use. So I'm just going to say add for now. So now I'm able to combine my some custom masking and procedural masking. So let's put this in a say proc masking. We're just gradually building this up to be something that can be used over and over and over again. Okay, so The next thing I want to deal with is I want my user to be able to change the size of all these elements in my brick here. So I'm actually going to do, this is going to come up here. All this is in my Brickstone setup. And I'm going to press Shift S to change my my wires to kind of like these straight lines, because I like them more than the Bezier curves. Awesome. Cool. All right. So let's pop inside this. Let's turn that off. Actually, I think I like that, leaving that on so I can see exactly what's going where. Okay. So inside of my Brickstone here, right, I want to be able to control where each piece of noise is happening. So let's see. This here is my brick output. So I don't really need this red, green, and blue anymore. It's just kind of floating around there, doing nothing. That was just mostly for diagnostics. And let's see. Do I have two? Yeah, I have two global geometry nodes in here. So I'll have to deal with those. And actually, what I think I'll do is, let's see. These are my bricks. These are position noise. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up even further. So looks like I have, let's see, these are my UVs. These are my bricks. And these are my random IDs. So what I want to be able to do is change these are making my directional masks. So I want to be able to change my position. So what I can do is I'm going to just take and I'm going to use a transform. What did I call it? It's transform. Yeah, transformation transformation matrix node. So what this is going to do is it's just like a transform node in Geometry Land. It's taking all those points and like rotating them and moving them and scaling them. Okay, so I'm going to take that basically everything that's coming out of this P. So this P, I'm going to plug it in here. I'm going to take everything that's coming out of that and replace it with this transform pause. Now, if my theory is correct, nothing should change. So that goes to there. Let that cook, and this goes into here. Let that cook. So now, if I take this scale and I say, let's make this. Let's go 1.5 bigger. You should see. Everything updates. So this is the other part of that system that I was talking about. This allows the user to further change the system. So the system starts in a sane spot, and then the user can say, "Oh, I want this to be bigger or smaller." So I'll probably want to expose all that. So that's good. So let's do one and one. Go back to. And so this also allows us to not uniformly scale stuff. I can also rotate stuff. So if I want to, let's just rotate in Y, or let's say rotate in Z. Let's say 45 degrees. I should be able to tilt bricks. Yeah. So now my bricks are going in a 45-degree angle. So it's all the same math. All the same math, right? I'm just using it in a different context, right? This is just like a transform node out in Geometry Land. I'm just using it inside. I'm doing it on a per point basis in this system here. So actually I want to color this because this is important. Color that. Let's color that green. That's really important. We'll call this global X1. And actually, this is just my brick, global brick X1. Great, awesome. So that's my global brick X form, and then down here, so all that, so this is all my masking that's normalized. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. So all this stuff, this is all coming up in here. This is my, this is perturbing my bricks. This is building my UVs from that position as well. This is building my 3 brick patterns also from that position. This is building my random IDs from my brick patterns, which are based on that position. So it's like this big cascading thing, right? So these are my random IDs. So that's good, right? So that builds all of this up. And then, so I'm going to do that same thing in here. So let's see. This guy is dealing with my rocks, my... Let's see, where are you going? So I don't want to change this one because this one's going straight to my output P. So for that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a bind here. And I'm just going to fetch that P on its own. So, P. Right, so it knows about P already, so it grays out all this stuff. So I can say, I'm just going to replace that with that. So I don't have these wires kind of going everywhere. So you can see nothing really changed. So I'm just fetching P. So really these global inputs here are really just convenience for whatever you need. So I could technically, if I really wanted to clean this up, oops, I could forego all those guys. So I could grab that guy and I'm gonna say Control X. Cut it away. I found this is a really cheeky way to move stuff around. You just kind of throw it onto your clipboard and then Control V, drop it wherever you are, and it'll drop down wherever you are. So that guy. So now this is just P, and then down here, so that allows me to not have these wires kind of going everywhere. Okay, so this is in, so I can do another bind. This one is going to be in. So I'll take my in, plug that into my vector, and once again, nothing should move. So now I can get rid of that. And I can always make more of these. That's how I did 2 to begin with. Oh, it's not super complicated. It's just a bunch of different, like, it's a bunch of small systems, like, kind of all put together. So it looks complicated when you first look at it, but like, and this is why I have like these little boxes, right? I didn't just go plat and just like make all this stuff at one time. Like I built it up bit by bit by bit by bit, right? One of the best pieces of advice about computer graphics that I ever got was there are no complicated systems. Most complicated systems are just a bunch of very, very simple systems stacked on top of each other. And I find this true for many, 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 many things. Okay, so now I don't have like this P flying off and going onto here. I just have this one here, right? So this P is controlling my rock output, my pockmarks, and I think that's it. So this is going to... yeah, my rock output, pockmarks. Okay, So I'll replace this one with a bind as well. So we'll say bind. And there might be a I'll have to look up and see if there's like a computational hit for having all these P's, all these bind imports. But as far as I can tell, I haven't really seen much of a difference. So, all right. So this P is going to, so it's going to 2 spots. It's going to my offset, and it's going to here. So this is my rock output. So I'm going to make another transform. Transformation matrix. So this will be the transform for my global rock X form. And then I'll make another X form for also for here. So this guy is building off of this guy down here. So this guy comes off and it branches off twice, which is fine. Okay, so let's see. That's my global rock X form, and I'll make a new one here. And this one will be my global pockmarks X form. Color these green as well because they're important. And so I'll just replace wherever this, so this guy is going to this position. So my global rock going to position. And it's also going up here to this input 1. All right. So that's that guy. Drag that out. This guy will come in here. And then this guy, this global pockmarks, is going to go into this position. So refactored. So this is nice. This is way more organized than it was before. So I have these, all my P's are in one spot, right? So I have kind of like these P's kind of scattered everywhere, and they're all coming in and they're spitting out this position here. Great, cool. So let's save this. So the next thing I want to do is I want to give, so right now, if I want to change this stuff, I have to keep jumping down into this kind of brickstone asset, which I don't want to keep doing, right? I want to be able to just grab this guy and say, all right, move my bricks, much like the same way that I can change my my element size and all that stuff from my mask. I also want to be able to do that with my brickstone. So that's called promoting attributes. So let's start with our bricks. So I'm going to right-click this guy, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say Vex Vop Options, and I'm going to say Create Input Parameters. So as I do this, you see this all these little kind of tabs show up. So now, if I go up to the top, I have all these guys. And I think I already built some of that stuff here. So this is brick, mask black point, mask white point, brick size, and brick single size, and then we have all this transformation stuff up here. So this is all my brick stuff right now. So let's actually, I kind of want to bring this into some sanity too. So let's say 0.5 and 0.6. Overall brick size, we'll just make them square, 0.2 and 0.2. Single brick size is going to be 0.95. So we can see that it should shrink just a bit and then this is all my translate, rotate, scale. So I'm going to be making a lot of this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a folder for this guy. So I'm going to go into it's kind of like there is some kind of volume shader in Houdini. Yeah, it's not a volume shader. It's just a straight volume. So Houdini's really good at that. I may do if people are interested in it. I can do a live stream on volumes. It's not super my specialty. I more specialize in geometry and geometry attributes and simulation. But what the heck, I can give it a whirl. All right. So I'm going to go and edit my parameter interface. Edit parameter interface. Cool. And so I have all this stuff up here, which I'm not going to mess with, but I have all these extra bits down here. So I'm going to make a folder. I'll put it above this guy, and I'll call this bricks. And my folder name is going to be bricks. Bricks. And I'm going to take all this stuff and move it into bricks, because all this stuff has to do with my bricks. Let's see. So I'm going to say apply. Should see, yeah. So all that stuff is set to bricks, and this guy is set to tabs. So I'll have a brick tab. I'll have a I'll have a brick tab. I'll have a, what else do I want? So every piece that I have is going to get its own tab. And then, so also I want, so let's see, my transform order, rotate order. So yeah, so it's going to take all this stuff and move it up to the top, because that's kind of like the most important stuff. Like all this translate, rotate stuff. And then I'll have my black point, my white point, my brick size, and my single brick scale. Cool. So now the user has access to all the brick stuff. So now you don't have to jump in. Now I can say, you know, take my Y scale to like 0.1 if I want really thin bricks. Actually, I want. So now I'm getting kind of like a. This kind of looks like the like bricks from like a stone temple or something like that, right? You get those really thin bricks. Yeah, so now you can control that a lot easier. So there's all that. So let's go back inside and do the rest of these. So that's my brick transform, and I think I already built a lot of this stuff in here. Let's see, did I make parameters? Oh, the other thing I want is to have a parameter for my overall. So here, brisk output, brick, brisk output. So brisk. So brick output. So this final multiplier here is going to control how much my bricks, how deep my bricks go, right? So I probably want a multiplier for that as well. So what did I say? 0.5. I said that was 0.005. So here, what I'll do is I'm just going to make a parameter as well. So I'm going to say tab parameter. And this param name is going to be called brick displace multi. Brick disp multi. And my label will be brick displacement multiplier. Well, actually, I'll just call it amount, because that's really what it is. Okay, so I'll just take this bricks displacement amount. I'm going to say my default is going to be the same as this guy, so that's 0.005. It's a float, so 0.005. And my range, I don't really need a ranged, and yeah, so let's plug this in. Bloop. Shouldn't really see anything change. But as I come out, I should get a brick displacement amount. There. So I'll go into my parameter interface. Drop all this stuff down, and I'll put that right at the top there. So I have my amount, and then all my transform stuff, and then my the rest. So actually what I also want to do is I want to make this, I'm basically making a tool for someone else to use that's not me. So I want it to be as clear, crystal clear as possible. So what I'll do is I'll add some little separators in here. So put a separator between my brick displacement and a separator between my transform stuff and my masking stuff. So I have this nice little line. So my displacement, this is all my transform stuff, and then this is all my kind of like brick, individual brick things. Cool. All right, jumping back in. So we're gonna do this for the other ones. So this is my rock transformation. So I'm gonna right click, vex pop options, and create input parameters. It gives me that, so those will pop back up, and while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and make a parameter for down here, and this will be rock disp amount. Or I think I called the other one multi, so I want to keep that nomenclature. Multi. So rock displacement amount. And so once again, we'll copy that. So 0.25, 0.25. So going back up, we should see all that stuff come in here. So once again, edit parameter interface, shrink, shrink, shrink. So I'm going to need a new folder. So I'll call this rock pattern. Rock pattern. And grab all this stuff, plug it in here. Once again, I want my displacement for convenience sake up top, and I'll put a separator between the two so we know that these are two separate things. So I'll say apply. And down here, so now we should have brick and rocks. Now I want these two things to be side by side. So let's see, tabs. Let's see. Rock pattern. Callback scripts. Visible. Available import. Let's do collapsible. See if that gives me what I want. Apply. Yeah, that'll work. So I have my bricks section, my rock pattern section. So I just don't want to overload my user with information. What else can we do this? And let's see, we have collapsible, we have simple. Change both these to simple, see what that looks like. Yeah, that's still too much information. Let's go collapsible again. Oh, let's go tabs. I think I'll go back to collapsible. I like that better. What I really like is I want something like this, where they're right next to each other. And in fact, that's doing that, so I can actually look at what Houdini's already done. So this is tabs, and let's see, where is it? Vertex setup and attribute settings. That's tab. That's tab. So STD switch 3, and this is STD switch 3.1. So let's try this. We'll say bricks and bricks _1. See if that gives it to us. Oh, these need to be tabs. Nope. I'll still have to figure out how to stack those. So for now, we're just gonna do collapsible. So I have my bricks section and I have my rock pattern section. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and make all these collapsible. Yeah, so great. Vex setup, attribute bindings, bricks, rocks. Cool. So just going to do this for the last part. So this is my bricks and then my pockmarks here. So once again, right click, Vex VOP options, create input parameters. Boop. And I'll go ahead and make this guy. So I'm pretty sure I always want my pockmarks to go in. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to a positive value and I'll just multiply it by -1 when it's done. So it'll, like, whatever the user chooses, it's basically how much these things are going to go inwards. Okay, so that's cool. So I can say I'll keep this constant around. So 0.005 C, and we're gonna go parameter. And this will be pock mark disp multi, and my label will be pock mark displacement amount, and I'll say that's my default. So if I right click in my regular interface, say reset to default, it's going to reset to something normal. Now this is positive, so I need to multiply this by a negative value. So I'm going to say multiply. Ooh, I can just say multiply constant. There we go. I don't even need that. So I can multiply whatever's coming in by -1. go inwards instead of outwards. This goes in here. And selected goes into input 1. Cool. Popping back out. So now I have, this is all my POC marks. So once again, go edit parameter fit interface. Shut all this stuff down. Actually, maybe I can put my custom stuff up top. We'll see if I can do that here in a minute. So this guy, once again, collapsible. This guy goes in first, then a separator, then the rest of these guys. This is going to be POC marks. Change this back to rock pattern. This is going to be POC marks. Great, so now, actually, one last thing. Such a stickler for this stuff. In general, for this stuff, no one's ever going to see, like, I don't think anybody's going to mess with these vex bindings or these attribute settings. So what I'll do is I don't want to get rid of them because the tool needs them. I'm just going to set them to invisible. Group type run over points. I think I want to leave the group. I'm going to leave group type, but I'm always going to run over points for this thing. I'm probably never going to run over attributes, but maybe, you know what, maybe I'll leave that there because you just might need some. Yeah, I'm probably getting too picky. Cool. All right, so we'll apply that, and we'll call that done. Nice. So I'm gonna go back to my bricks, and let's just reset this to 1. And so now we can display, we can test this. So if I want more brick displacement, should be able to push that in. Great. So I got more brick displacement, even though it's not doing exactly what I want to do, it still works. So I can pull this down. I have more brick displacement here. I can, and then if I right click and I say reset to default, revert to default, that should send me back. Great, perfect. So that's why we put that default in there. So that's my brick amount. Let's check my rock pattern. I'm gonna start to bring this up. So overall rock pattern's working. Right click, I can say reset to defaults. Perfect. And then my POC marks to make sure that they really push in. Yeah, great. Wonderful. Awesome. And reset to default. Control middle mouse button. Ooh. Didn't know about that. Great. Awesome. So now I have this very, very usable system. And I'm going to color this guy bright red. So I know that's really important. And so let's test this on with our sphere to make sure everything holds together. Awesome. Great, great, great. Good stuff. Yeah, so these bricks are roughly the same size, even though, like, my pig is this big, and my sphere is that big. So let's see. Okay, so there's my overall pig. I'm coming in. That's my in mesh. So I'm doing my unify size. And then, after everything, I need to bring that back out and make it the same size. So now no matter what size something is, when it comes in, it's still gonna get roughly the same type of information, right? So these brick patterns are not bound to world space. Like, I'm bringing everything in, so everything that comes in gets put in the same kind of box. That box gets messed around with, and then everything else, and then it gets exploded back out into the world. Awesome. And then I can also test and see. So I can also say, all right, I either want to use, so I can use my custom mask, or I can use just my painted mask. And you can see my painted mask looks really boring now, without all that extra stuff in it. Like, it gives you that really nice kind of weathered, random look. So you just get these nice little pockets in here, and I can control both of those as needed. I also can control my pre-inflate. So if I want my pre-inflate to be a little bit bigger, maybe not that big, 0.05. So my free inflate, if I want the stucco to look a little bit thicker, and then I can take my post inflate, and maybe I can bring that, let's say 0.8. So push that in a little bit more. So I'm really exaggerating the stucco-ness. I feel like this is a little bit too much. It's looking a little bit too much like crystals and growth. So I only like stucco is only like maybe like that thick. So, but you know that that's there if you need it. So I'm liking this. So it's like this nice thin layer of like plaster or stucco or concrete or whatever or what have you. And then I think maybe, just maybe, for my procedural mask, I'm going to put a final post process in here because I have this post process, I have this post process, and then I think I'm going to do one more attribute remap on my mask here. So what this will allow me to do is it'll allow me to further, just take this conglomerate mask and edit it if I wanted to. So if I wanted this to be super, super sharp, you can do that. So you get like these fun little dents and dings in here. And I can move this around, right? I can push this and pull this. So that's going to start to chew away more stuff. This is going to be more broad. So I think I'll leave this as default. You can get some marbling effects going on in there. So much fun stuff you could do. Ooh, I like this. Like this step pattern, like you're getting a little bit of that stepped in there. Oh, that looks like ringworm. I don't like that. Let's just do linear. That's the default. So much stuff you can do, and it's all just data. I'm just all black and white data. That's all this is. A lot of the CG, a lot of computer graphics is just manipulating black and white data, manipulating masks and wipes over and over and over and over again. All right, so let's see. Let's start to now. The last thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the last half hour, and I'm going to start to clean this up because I might have a lot of attributes in here that I may not need. And actually, no, I don't. Scene points. So I have a bunch of groups in here that I probably don't need. There's the group interior, pig eyes, pig neck. I don't need all that. But I think those are coming in with... So let's do this sphere because this guy doesn't have anything really on it. Let's see what I'm building. Man, that's great. Like not having that pattern just stick, no matter how big the thing that I feed it is great. So don't have any point data, don't have any vertex data, and I don't have any normal attributes. So I'm not really building anything. I think the only thing I have, actually no. Let's make sure I'm looking at the right node here. So I have a mask. So I've given it, I've changed my position. I have this mask data here that's between 0 and 1, and I have a normal data. Don't have any of that. Don't have any of that. Great. So all those groups and stuff were coming from the actual pig head. So I don't want to mess with those. So when my user feeds this system something, I don't want to like mess up what they've done. I just want to spit out the new stuff that I've made, which is masks and normal data. Great. Cool. So what I do want to do, and in this last, like I said, last half hour, I want to keep all that information, like all those brick lines and all that stuff, the same way I'm keeping my mask. I want to keep all that stuff because I might want to use it in texturing later. So I'm going to pop in here, and I'm just going to start making bind exports for all my pieces. So if I look here, this right before it goes into this multiply is my brick output. So I think this is my brick displacement, and then I think I have my brick lines in here as well. Actually, no, this is my brick lines. So I'm going to make a bind export. And I'm going to plug this guy into here. And so I get this param, and I'm going to call this brick lines. So most of these, it's either 0 or 1. So I want to actually view this as well. So here, I'm going to come down to my viewers. I'm going to right click, I'm going to turn off my mask viewer. And I'm going to pop back up here, and I'm just going to visualize my brick lines. I should have brick lines. Brick lines. I think I have something templated. Ah, there we go. So there, right? That's all that data, right? That's amazing that I can just keep this and use it later, and we'll get into how we use this later. So great, that's my brick lines. So I'm gonna do the same thing for my other parts. So this is my brick lines. Let's see here. What else do we have? We have a rock output. So I kind of want that. So that's right before we go into my multiply here. I'm gonna grab this noise. So this guy is a 3D input 1D noise. So this is going to be another bind export. say noise in here. So this is another parameter. So this is going to be, call this rock disp. We'll just call it rock. Okay. So if I go back out here, I can make a visualizer for rock. So this may be really, really faint. Show my brick lines. I'm not seeing my rock lines here. Rock. Oh, my rock is coming out all one value. Okay, so I know that's not right, because if that was all one value, I wouldn't be getting these little crispy lines here. So let's go and diagnose where I'm got here. Sure. Ah, that's why. I have the wrong thing plugged in. I want to plug in my noise here. There we go. There's my rock data now. Great. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is, and then I'm going to do my pockmarks down here. So I'm just putting this export right before I go into this, my multiply here. So same thing, find export. We'll call this POC. Let's clamp. So it's my POC data. Say POC. And there's my POC data. So if I want to put like, if I want to change the color of what's inside of these POCs, like if they get like collect dirt or something, I can do that. If I want to change the color of my my lines, I can do that. So this is pretty cool. And maybe the other thing, the big thing that I want to export is my let's see, I want to export my brick UVs and my random ID. That's going to be really important later. So let's check that out. That is, let's see, these here, let's see, mount, these brick UVs, they're all coming up into here, and they're all getting added together and clamped in here. So that is going to be really, really important. So I'm going to say bind export. Brick UV, and this is going to be actually float data because it's XYZ because it's a UV. So this is coming out into here. So my brick UV. So let's see that. So there are my brick UVs. So we're going to edit this, and let's see. Brick UVs, not as a color ramp. I want to display as constant? No, not a constant. Texture distortion. Not as random. I want type color. Ah, doesn't matter. I know they're there. So that one's a little bit harder to visualize. So let's go back. Let's turn off my brick UV, my pockmarks, my color, or my rock, my brick lines, and I don't think I have those masks X, Y, and Z. I probably don't need those, so I can always rebuild those from my normal data. Okay, so the last one I want is that random data. So where is, so that would be coming, let's see, this is, oh, that is my random data. Rand ID, all that is coming off of these guys. Yeah, that's my random. That's why it wasn't looking right. So let's change this to brick ID. So down here, I believe my UVs are coming out here. So brick UV here, UV, and UV. Do I need those? Maybe I'll put them together offline, because these UVs are driving these guys. So I would do more or less this whole setup again with my UV data, but I don't think I need that. I can always go back in and build it later. So here, so if I go and I look at my brick ID, that's what I want, right? So I have this dark spot, you have these light spots, so it's going from 0 to 1, and it's, you can kind of see it blending on these edges. Cool. So I can use all that stuff later, and I want to make sure that this all still works if I swap out my little piggy here. Yeah, so there's all my brick IDs in there. And let's look at my other stuff. So my brick ID, don't have a brick UV. There are my pock marks. There's my rock data. And there are my brick lines. I also have my mass data. That's still in here. So all the things that went into making this little system, I now have at my disposal down here. So once again, I can get my mask. Brick lines, let's see. Oh, all this stuff is coming in through here. So let's do this. So I'm only keeping the stuff that's in here. So what I'll do is I'll just switch these inputs. So Shift R will switch my inputs. So all I've done is just I've inverted my mask. So now I'm keeping all the stuff from over here. And this is the supplement. So let's go ahead. I don't like crossing lines, so I'll move that over there. And I'll just move all this stuff over here. Awesome. And if this seems like erratic, it's kind of because it is. Like I'm building this as I go. Like this is you're seeing kind of a thought process happen here. So let's see, this is my procedural mask. So I'm gonna make this, where are the colors here? All right, so there's my procedural mask. So the other thing that I might want to do, so this is my mask remapping now. Is maybe, is there an option to invert my mask? I mean, I can invert it here. Mask. Oh, it is. Let's see. Okay. So my mask is here. So maybe I want to keep all my mask data over here. So if I'm keeping all the attributes from this, and this is kind of like a pass through, so I want to keep all my mask data there. So if that's the case, is what I love about Houdini. So my mask is my mask, right? These two streams are the exact same model. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to just take my regular old run-of-the-mill and plug that in over here. And I'm going to take my masking data. I'll make a null for this. In mask. And I'm going to put that, I'm actually going to put that before my brick setup. So this guy and that guy. So basically I've made like this little contained thing. So this guy will come over here. I'm going to hold down control, move this guy over. Keep on saying guy. This thing has no gender. So this is still going to build that mask. So if I look here and I turn, should be able to see. Yeah, there's my mask data. And let's see. So that's my mask data. That is going to go into here. On my brick setups. Alright. And actually, now that I have that, I don't even really need this anymore. Because I have, my mask is all inside. No, I think I'll leave that there. I'll leave that there. So, here we go. Go on here. This is still reading my op input P. So my, so this position is self. This position is op input P, and then I'm multiplying that by, or I'm lerping that by a mask, and there we go. So my mask now is where it's actually the opposite. And that makes more sense. So I'm masking off where I don't want my bricks. That makes a lot more sense. At least it does to me. Cool. So now I can take, if I take my masking remap here, if I flip this over, I should get the opposite. Yeah, so I'm getting the opposite of, so I can invert my mask at any time. So this is running a function, but I want the user to be able to choose as well. So this is all about choices. This live stream is all about giving building systems as a modeler to give your user choices. And this is modeling. Make no doubt, this is still modeling. I'm just modeling in a different way, right? I'm modeling procedurally. So there's direct modeling, which is the traditional modeling that everybody knows about, which is, you know, cutting faces and extruding. There's sculpting, which is, you know, pushing and pulling points around. This is procedural modeling, so it's modeling using mathematics and in core kind of CG competencies. And if you can do this, like this looks really good on a demo reel. Like it looks really good on demo reel. Okay, so I wanted to be able to flop this guy back and forth. So I will have one stream over here that's just regular and one stream over here that's flopped. So to do that, to invert a 0 to 1 domain, you just subtract 1. So I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to do an attribute mask or attribute expression over here. I'm going to plug this guy in there. And I will say points, and I'm going to do custom mask, and I'll do 1 minus self. And this is our float type. So if I plug this into here, or actually, no, if I take my switch and plug it into there, I should flip it over. Okay, so I'll put another switch in here. So this will feed here, and this, and that. So this will be invert mask. So if this is 0, invert mask is off. If this is 1, invert mask is on. Very, very powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff. So, and then this invert mask. Let's invert mask switch. And switch. Cool. We'll save this. So the next thing I want to do is, so I've tried it on this little pig head. I've tried it on a sphere. Right. So now I want to try it on like a little piece of external data. So I have a little Buddha that I scanned. And I've actually 3D printed him a long time ago. This is my little Buddha here. Right? That's my little Buddha. And so what I want to do is I want to bring in that Buddha. And I want to use that with this system. So I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to save this. So I'm going to do a file. I'm going to go get my little Buddha. Buddha OBJ, accept. So he's absolutely gigantic, so he's super huge. But because, and this is the reason that I put in these match sizes. So I'm actually gonna. Those aren't really important. So what are the stuff that I'm gonna change? All this stuff is pretty important. So that's gonna need to be changed. This is important. That's going to need to change. This is important. That's going to need to change. Brickstone. That's super important. Pre and post blur. Like actually, all of this, the user is going to need to be able to change after the fact. Once this is an asset. So I'm just coloring all the stuff that is important to the user. I'm coloring all that green. Just so I know green means good, at least it does to me. We'll call this outmesh. Put that in there. Just recolor these something. Oh, there's my bricked up Buddha. And you see he didn't change his overall size from his original size, but those brick patterns are still more or less the same. And I should have, so there's my mask, which is awesome. That's my mask. There's my brick lines. There's my rock data. There are my pock marks. There's my brick UV, which I don't need, and then my brick ID. And it looks like, is my brick ID lining up? Yeah, my brick ID is lining up. Right. Super duper cool. Super duper cool. Or at least I think it is. So this guy's quite large. So I think like he was built in centimeters and Houdini is meters. So if I look, he is almost 75 meters in width. So he's basically the size of a city block. So I'm gonna bring him down to meters. So I'm gonna do. Yeah. So I'll do 4 So what I would do, and I can start this process now in the last few minutes. So what am I gonna? What do I want to change? Right. So if we want to keep that color scheme going, my turbulent noise is going to need to be changed. My fit is going to need to be changed by the user. This takes care of itself. The input mask takes care of itself. The multiply takes care of itself. The clamp takes care of itself, and the final fit as well. We'll probably need. Let's do this 0.3. I like to have nice round numbers when I'm doing stuff. So you just start with like it's a nice round number. It's always good for the user to see that it almost looks like you planned what you were doing. Cool. So here, so once again, if I want to, so I don't need this output because I'm only outputting my mask. So that can go away. And then I'm only pulling in my my position, so I don't need this whole geometry global thing. So I'm going to do a bind here, and that'll be P, just like I did at the beginning. So now all this can also go away. Pa-pa, pa-pa. Done. All right. So now all I need to do is just start promoting stuff. So this, once again, right click, say options, create input parameters. Okay, I'll pop out. This will be green because the user's going to change that. This will also be green, so let's do step size, let's say 0.7, and iterations 150, that's fine. We'll do edit parameter interface, same as before, so I'm gonna make a folder. I think I'll leave this one as a tab, because I'm gonna have much less stuff here. So we'll call this folder name, call this edge noise. Apply. So edge noise there. So I don't know why this one is stacked and the other ones aren't. It's very strange. Don't know why the other one wasn't stacking like this, because this is what I wanted with the other one. So that's my edge noise. I think I can just leave this open. I'm just actually going to leave this open. See if it'll update. So this will be, so I don't want to change my min and max output. I really just want to change my source min and source max. So I can right click, actually I think it's middle click. And get a fatal error. So yeah, great. That's the end. That's the end of. I've been saving all along. I just saved before I went into this, so I shouldn't lose too much data. I was pushing it pretty hard anyway, so I probably shouldn't have this open and be changing this stuff at the same time. Let's say okay. Yes. And yeah. So with that crash, that's the end of our stream, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming in. This one was a little strange because we did a lot of refactoring. We kind of moved a little backwards so we could move forwards in the next coming streams. So in the next coming streams, we're going to take all that data and bake it down into a usable mesh. Because right now, just like if you pull a mesh out of ZBrush or you have raw scan data, it's not really usable. It's too heavy. I mean, you can see how hard my computer was working just to make those small changes. We don't need all that data in our, in our game, in our animated short, in our visual effects movie. We want to take and we want to bake all that information into two-dimensional shaders and two-dimensional images so that we can further texture this object. So, this is the Wednesday night stream. Thank you so much for coming and watching. Thank you for your participation. I'm Brian Bentley for CG Spectrum. For all your modeling needs, go to cgspectrum.com/3D-modeling. Have a good week. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.